So what you're looking at here is I don't know, do they still call them fog banks? I don't know. I think I remember that from being a kid when we lived in England, and good Lord, you'd roll out of the house and that fog would be so thick you couldn't see across the street. I loved it, even as a little kid. But anyway, you're looking at, yeah, okay, let's call it that. You're looking at a bank of fog that I rolled through in the eastern plains of Colorado as I was driving from Denver back to where I currently live in Georgia. And as I was rolling through it, I was thinking of all these metaphors I could use to poetically describe my life up to this point. Particularly poignant because I was leaving a place where, if you've watched the previous vlog, I was leaving a place where, even though I lived there for the majority of my childhood, young adulthood, and such, it never felt like home. And I was in the process of driving to some place where I've lived now 15 going on 16 years, and it doesn't feel like home either. So there was something about, rolling into this fog of confusion and despair, all these other just frankly depressing thoughts. I was inspired to think about another few lines or chapters or essays that I want to add to the memoir I'm writing, which I plan to release next year. Not, yes, wait. Yes, next year, 2022, which will be my 55th birthday year, I guess is how you say that. Anyway, I plan to release my memoir on my 55th birthday next year. So as I was saying, I had all this stuff going through my head. I was just, basically working myself into a mild depression. And then, as happens in life, I roll through and suddenly the fog breaks up, blue sky and sunlight rain down, and my mood turns and I think about the positive things that came out of my time in Denver. I think of the true friendships and the genuine, if not complicated, love that exists in that city for me. Doesn't make me want to move back for sure. But it did, as the fog cleared, so did a lot of the residual pain and sadness that comes with being in the city for any length of time. So again, I had all these great and wonderful, or what I thought were wonderful metaphors that I wanted to include in this video, but I think instead I'm going to read for you one of the first truly inspirational, well, not really inspirational, transformative pieces of writing that I'd done. And when I say transformative, I mean, after writing this particular scene, I came to understand a lot about myself and my purpose for writing. Because I don't just write to tell stories. And based on book sales, I'm not writing to become any kind of millionaire either. Although earning a comfortable living is certainly on my to-do list. So, side note, please buy my books. My characters help me process some of the negative things that have happened to me in my life. They help me process the heartaches, the disappointments, the setbacks, and in that processing, they allow me to work through the fog and get to the clear skies and sunlight. And this particular scene really made that clear for me. But okay, enough rambling. I'd like to read for you this section. I hadn't been to my dad's grave since the day I'd had him planted. I woke from a semi-doze, sitting at the foot of the site, my hands clutching bits of grass that I had apparently ripped from the ground. My fingers throbbed with tension, and I had to force them open. I felt a bit guilty for the small tufts I had torn up. My father's grave no longer looked neat or cared for. I felt the same way, unkempt and no longer cared for. My thoughts spiraled down. My career was on the brink. Any chance at a love life I might have had just blown up, and I was going bald. The idea of just laying down on that grave and calling it a day began to look like a good idea. It was day 15 of my hibernation. Sleep and I hadn't been on speaking terms since the nightmares had returned. I spent most days in a fog, buried in my sheets. At some point, I had taken off the last weave, covering my head with the same scarf I'd worn all those years ago after my mom had left. Its frayed and worn edges and washed out color mirrored how I felt about myself. I sat at the grave with my head lowered, listening to my breath melt into the breeze, and I waited. I waited for my father's ghost to rise up and mock me, make fun of me, tell me, "I told you so." "Ma'am?" I was despondent. I didn't bother to raise my head. "Yes." Uh, I hate to bother you, but the cemetery is closing soon. You're gonna have to leave." "Okay." I hate to intrude, but in all my years as the watchman here, I've seen a lot of grief, and you look like you're having a time with it. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Hope you don't mind me intruding, but he's dead. Whatever trouble his living caused you, it died with him. Ain't no need worrying over it now. Yeah, I sighed my disbelief. I know. Easier said than done. You feel like you can't live without him, huh? No, not really. Well, whatever you're feeling, he ain't feeling nothing no more, and you can let that go. Hell, I tell all the grieving folk I come across out here, the dead are dead. Ain't no more you can do with 'em. But you're living, and you need to get about the business of doing that the best way you know how. You sitting here crying ain't doing nobody any good, just wasting your valuable time and energy. Get up, go put that energy to use, and make some good in the world. I don't know that I have any good in me. Bullshit. Everybody has the power to do good. Just got to get over yourself to do it. I mean, look at me. I did as I was instructed. I looked up, finally seeing the man behind the wise words. He was stick thin, with leathered brown skin from his time spent patrolling the graves year after year. Sun glinted off of a pair of thick glasses, while the breeze ruffled the 4 or 5 tufts of hair still clinging to his scalp. He was missing 3 of his front teeth, 2 at the bottom and 1 on the top. I'm ugly as sin, but that don't stop me from volunteering at the homeless shelter twice a year. Didn't stop my high school sweetheart from marrying me and staying by my side till she passed, God rest her soul. And it didn't stop me from raising my 2 kids to go on to college. I didn't get nothing but a 10th grade education myself, but I've been able to work and feed my family all these years. Everybody has good in them and can do good. It's the dead that can't give nothing back. Now, I've bothered you enough and it's time to lock up. Tell you what, sit on what I told you for a few minutes. I'll come back when I finish my rounds and we'll leave then. He shuffled away from me, balding head held high, even though his shoulders were now a little stooped with age. I watched him walk into the evening sunlight, thinking about what he'd said. To find out what all the crying was about, hop on over to the website and get your copy of Hello, Diva, my first ever self-published full-length novel. Link, of course, in the description below. And now, let's just finish this ride. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.